Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Everyone looks back to bygone eras, often remembering things through rose-tinted glasses and reminiscing about what it would have been like to grow up at that time. If this is you, then we have a bit of a treat for you, as in today's video, we're going to be taking you on a trip down memory lane as we look back at some forgotten relics from one of the most interesting decades, the 1970s. Thanks for watching. Before we get into the video, if you'd like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. And if you haven't already, smash that bell icon to stay up to date with all the latest content we have upcoming. Done that? Great. Okay, so let's get into the video as we look back on 10 amazing relics from the 1970s. 1. Kitchen Chopper. Anyone who's a fan of the 70s know that it was a time of experimentation and innovation, and this nifty little gadget shows 70s innovation at its very best. In the 70s, there was a desire for both families and companies to look for ways to save time, making mealtimes quicker, easier, and safer. The answer to these prayers was the kitchen chopper, a gadget to meet all your chopping needs. Meat? Check. Fruit? Check. Vegetables? Check. Fingers? Well, okay, maybe not everything, but you get the idea. The kitchen chopper saw huge success in the 70s as it chopped its way into our hearts, and although it did disappear for a while, this retro throwback has made a reappearance in recent times. 2. Shag carpeting. What says 1970s more than a thick shag-piled carpet? This relic is synonymous with the hippie-loving, flower-powered generation of the late 60s and 1970s, and during this time, there is no such things as too much shag pile. This is another relic that has been making a resurgence in recent years, and having seen minimalist wooden floors rule over the past 20 years, shag pile is now making a comeback with a refreshed, modern, and classier look. The famous saying is, if walls had ears. Well, I for one think the same applies to 1970s shag piles, and if carpets could talk, I for one would love to listen to the stories they would tell. 3. Hassock. Much like number 2 on this list, hassocks came in a variety of brash colors and fuzzy materials, which really allowed it to stand out, although perhaps in hindsight that wasn't the most sensible thing, as most times the colors didn't match. But then again, things like color matching and coordination were less of a concern in the 70s, which was an altogether less uptight time. Unlike shag carpeting, hassocks has not yet seen a return to popularity. I wonder if 2021 will be the year it marks its return. 4. Wall telephone. If you told kids of today that telephones were, at one time, designed only to make, wait for it, telephone calls, they probably wouldn't believe you. If you then told them that a telephone could not be put in your pocket and instead had to be mounted on a wall, they'd probably pass out with shock. Of course, the truth is that cell phones are a relatively new invention, and in the 70s, telecommunications was an altogether different affair. Want to speak to your friends? Well, that's fine. You could do so from the wall-mounted telephone, which had a cord just about long enough for you to move away from your brother, sister, or parents so they couldn't hear what you were saying. Nothing says the 70s better than a wall-mounted telephone. 5. Old hand mixer. Life was simpler in the 70s, with a carefree attitude and a more laid-back environment. As with the kitchen chopper, the hand mixer was another kitchen gadget developed to save time in the kitchen. And if you're a 70s kid, I'd put money on your parents using one of these at one point or another. Usually coming in a selection of gaudy primary colors, these retro relics are a great reminder of the decade. 6. Tube socks. I don't know how, but at some point in the late 1960s, tube socks blew up and became oh so popular, a craze that carried on deep into the next decade. Tube socks were the in thing to be seen in, adored by skater kids and sports stars alike, and if you had PE lessons in the 70s, the chances are you used to wear these too. Popularity waned in the 1980s, and by the 1990s, they had become almost extinct. They made a brief resurgence, particularly in Far East culture, but they have not yet shot back into wider popularity here in the West just yet. 7. Pet rock. Now, here's something that as a father, I wish would make a comeback. The pet rock. In the 70s, it was no problem if your parents wouldn't get you a pet dog or cat because you always had a hassle-free alternative that your mom and dad would say yes to. Released in 1975, pet rocks were there to save the day. For just $4, you could have a pet that you didn't have to feed, you didn't have to exercise, and you didn't need to house train. It was the dream pet, albeit one lacking in personality. The craze lasted about a year before being discontinued in 1976. Not a bad run for something that you could find for free outside. 8. Clackers. Number 8 on our list of relics from the 70s is perhaps one of the most loved toys of the period. Clackers initially came out during the late 1960s, but really shot into public conscience in the 1970s, as they became the go-to toy of many 70s kids. Health and safety standards at the time are not what they are today, but unfortunately, even these safety hazards were eventually banned for being too dangerous to the little ones. The problem was that the hard acrylic plastic was liable to shatter on impact into thousands or dangerous and sharp pieces, which of course could be easily lost in your thick shag pile carpet. Gone, but not forgotten. 9. Table trays. These things come in many disguises and names: tray table, table tray, TV tray table, or personal table. Whatever you call them, these things are synonymous with the 1970s and TV dinners. It really felt like a special treat when your parents allowed you to eat your dinner on your lap in the living room watching TV. Not reserved only for eating, these handy tables could be used for anything from board games to portable writing desks. Looking back, I think these things really should make a comeback. 10. Tiger Beat. If you grew up as a teenager or a preteen girl in the 70s, then the odds are that you had a copy of Tiger Beat magazine. Essentially, this was a gossip magazine for teenage girls, filled with music, film, and fashion advice. A magazine that boasted some of the biggest heartthrobs and stars of the time on its covers. The glossy pages and bright colors were like paper candy, saccharine and sweet with a distinct 1970s feel and look. Well guys, here's our list of 10 relics that we miss from the 1970s. We hope you enjoyed this nostalgic trip and would love to hear from you in the comments section about things that you miss from that era. Once again, please do like and subscribe to the channel and keep watching for more videos coming soon. Until next time, thanks for watching.